Hello guys, welcome to my channel, chapter 2. As he put his hand to the door, now Winston saw that he had left the drawer open. The table down with Big Brother was writing all over it. The letter must be enough to the legible across the room. It was inconceivably stupid to have done, by realized even his panic he had not even one to smooth the two crampy paper shutting the bowl while the ink was wet. He drew his breath and opened the drawer. Instantly a warm wave of life flowed through him. A colorless, crash-looking woman with wispy hair and a limp face was standing outside. Oh, comrade, she began in a dryly winning sort of voice. I saw her you come in. Do you think you could come across and have a look at our kitchen? Seeing it is called look up, and it was Mr. Perron, the wife of the neighbor one. The same fellow Mr. was the worst, somewhat disconnected by the factory you were supposed to call everyone comrade. Some women and used it instantly. She was of about 30 but looking much older and had the impression that there was dust in the gray of the face. Wisdom followed her down the passage. This a matter repair, Jawara, and almost thoroughly erosion Victory Mission were all flat, built in 1930 or thereabout, and were walling the pace. The plaster flack constantly from ceiling and the wall. The paper out every hard forest, the roof lake, whatever it was now, the heating system was usually running at half steam when it was not closed down, altering from motive of economic repair. Except what do you could do for yourself had to be sectioned by remote camera which were labeled to hold up even the melting of the window pane of 2 years. Of course, only because Tom isn't home, said Mr. Person vaguely. The person fella was bigger than Winston and Danny. In the different way, everything had the body trampled and looked at so the pace he just been visited by some large valiant animal game impediment, hockey stick, basking, glow, bra, football, a pair of sweaty horror, short tram, inside out, all over the floor and on the table there was a ladder of dirty dish and dog-eared exercise book. On the wall were scarred banner of the Lego and the Spy and the full-size poster of Big Brother. There was the unusual cabbage smell coming to the whole building, but it was shut through by a sharp reek of sweet, which Anne now did at the first sniff, so it was hard to say how was sweet of some person, not person at a moment in another room, someone with a gum and the piece of toilet paper was trying to keep time with the military music, which was still issued from the telescreen. It is a children, said Mr. Person, casting half apprehensive glance at the door. They haven't been out day, and of course she had she had a habit of breaking off her stance in the middle. The kitchen sink was full nearly to be broken with fitful greens water which smelled worse than over the cabin. Winston knelt down and examined the angle joint of the paper. He had it using his band and he had bending down, which was always label to serve him coffee. Mr. Person looked on helplessly. Of course, if Tom was home, he'd put it right in the moment she said he loves anything like that. He's over to go with his hand. Tom is Person was Wisdom Fellow employee at the Ministry of Truth. He was a fetish but active man of perilly, stupidly, a mass of immensely exhausting, one of those completely unquestioned, devoted droids on women whom, more even than on the thought police, the stability of the party depended. I ratified he had just been unwillingly evicted from the York Lego, and before graduating to the York Lego, he had managed to stay on it despite for years beyond the statutory at the ministry. He was employed in some subordinate post for which intelligence was not required, but on the other hand, he was a leading figure on the sport committee and all the other committee and judge or organization committee. He spawned demonstration, saving campaign, and voluntary. Generally, he would inform you with quiet between with his pipe that he had put in an appearance at the community center every evening for the past 4 years, and overpowering smell of sweet, a sort of a conscious chemistry of the transcends his life, flowed him about whatever he went, and even remained behind him after he had gone. "Have you got a spanner?" said Wisdom, fitting wide and not on the angle joined. "A spanner," said Mr. Person, immediately becoming invertebrate. "I don't know, I'm sure, perhaps the children." There was tremble of both an energy blood on the come as the children charged into the living room. Mr. Person borrowed the spanner. Wister let out the water and disgustedly removed the cloud of human hair that had blocked up the pipe. He cleaned his finger as best he could the cold water from the tap and the one back into the other room. "I wish your hand," yelled a savage voice. A handsome, tall-looking boy for 9 had popped up from behind the table and was menacing him with a toy automatic pistol, while his small sister, about 2 years younger, made made the same gastro with a fragment of wood. Both of them were there in the blue short, gray shirt and red neck shaft, which were a uniform of the space. Wisdom raised his hand above his head, but with an uneasy feeling. So with use was a voice demonstrated that it was not a particular game. "You are traitor," yelled the boy. "You are a thou criminal, you are a spy, you are shoot you, you are vaporize you, all I'll send you to the salt minute." Suddenly they were both lapping around him, shooting, traitor and thou criminal, the little girl imitation her brother every moment was somehow slightly frustrating, like the gambling of data group which will soon grow up into man and eater. There was a sort of calculating force in the eyes, a quiet waiting desire to hit or kick Winston, and the conscience of being very nearly be enough to do so. It was a good job. It was not a real pistol he was holding with strong thought. Mr. Person, I flew nervously from Winston to the children and back again in the better light of the living room, he noticed with interest that there actually was dust in the creases of her face. They do get unnoticed, he said, disappointed because they couldn't go to the city hanging. That is what it is. I'm too busy to take them, and Tom won't be back from work in time. Why can't we go and see the hanging red? The boy in his huge voice. Want to see the hanging, want to see the hanging, chanted the little girl, still chattering round. Some racing Parisian guilty of war crime were to behind the parade avenue. We still remember it happened about once month and was a popular spectacle, was glamoured